Hi, this is Mehdi,
Hey, this is Fran.
and this is Total Tactics Football. Today, we will be previewing the game between Italy versus Belgium in the quarterfinals. This is a tough matchup with two of the teams that are now favorites to go on and win the Euros by the bookies. But in this video, we will be looking at how both those teams set up. We're going to be looking at the clash of tactics that are going to be taking place between the managers and how basically each team can look to take advantage and win the game. So first up, we're going to talk about the Belgium setup. We've seen Roberto Martinez go with a back three for the last few years. This is a set in stone formation where sometimes it changes center backs, but considering the excellent performance that Vermaelen, Vertonghen, and Alderweireld gave last time around against Portugal, with the experience that they have, I think Roberto Martinez will be looking to maybe go with the same. We've seen Munir play on the right wing back in the absence of Castagne, and the left wing back will be seeing Torgan Hazard play, who likes to swap with the left forward. In this case, it possibly could be Mertens or Carrasco, considering Hazard looks possibly not ready to come back. And the midfield will be of Witsel and Tillemans, striker Lukaku, and De Bruyne, if he passes the fitness test, will be there as the right forward, but essentially in the free roaming position, allowed to drop deep and link up with the attack.
Yeah, and over to the Italian kind of lineup, I think Roberto Mancini will be kind of sticking with the structure that he has kind of orchestrated within the last 2 years. It's a very kind of standard 4-3-3 that transitions extremely fast through defense to attack, and with balls, on the ground, very quick, fast passing, which is a little bit different to, for example, the French team who play similarly, but have a little bit more flair and use more aerial balls in behind. And I think with Italy, I think you'll expect the same formation. So that kind of back four that we've seen so far, Spinazzola, Bonucci, possibly Chiellini or Cherby if he's still unfit, and then Di Lorenzo. And then we have the midfield three. I think we might actually probably see Locatelli. I think the game demands someone who probably wants to kind of either shadow KDB out of the game, and then someone like Barella and Jorginho to kind of fill in the gaps. Barella, the more attacking option, Jorginho, your more static option. And then I think up front that there's another dilemma there. I think it's simply set that Immobile and Insigne will play, but due to the kind of increasingly great performances of Chiesa, I think Berardi will finally potentially be dropped. But we'll talk a little bit about that later.
So for the clash of tactics, we're going to look at how basically Roberto Martinez can essentially tweak his team and set up his tactics to attack this Italian side, an Italian side that has shown very little weakness in the last few games. However, Arnautovic was able to give them quite a rough time in the round of 16. So that's something maybe Lukaku could be looking to basically use with his ability to hold up play and bring in his attackers in, as we saw with how he brought in Hazard for that shot against Portugal. And at the same time, it's sometimes with this Italian side, what happens is they move quite to one side to press. They do like to overload onto the flanks to press. And if you're able to pass through that sort of press and break through, there is a gap in midfield because, as we've seen, there's still here Jorginho and Verratti moved at one side. Barella, a player who likes to go high up the field to contribute in the final third, can leave that sort of gap in midfield. Arnautovic is able to play a link-up ball to Zabitzer, but the chance goes begging. But it's the kind of little moments in the game where sometimes, and with this Belgium side, they are able to play through the press with the likes of Witsel and Tillemans on the ball, who are quite composed at times. So they should be able to take advantage of that. But again, these are very little moments that can come up in the game, and it's about those fine margins that the Belgian side can take. Also, another area of which Belgium could again target is the right back position. So this is for me the weakness in this Italian side. Di Lorenzo, he's an excellent player, a winger who's turned into a fullback in his later years. He doesn't, possess the aerial ability of essentially a defender that you'd want. And we saw with this chance here how Alaba was able to win that header, and Arnautovic finishes. Unluckily for the Austrians that it was an offside, but it's something maybe Lukaku might look at to bring in the forwards in Mertens or Hazard or whoever's playing in that situation to bring them into with a knockdown and to look to create a chance at goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when we kind of like transition over to the weakness of the Belgium side, I think despite the fact that they've actually conceded, I think very few chances so far, largely due to the kind of, I would say, more positional awareness of their defenders and also Courtois' excellence. But I think there have still been gaps that we've seen exploited by this Belgium team, especially with some of the defenders either making one-on-one mistakes or getting turned too easily. But also as a symptom of them playing a very kind of narrow three-back formation, we've also seen kind of gaps in behind for potentially a left winger such as Insigne to come in. And we know Insigne plays in that left inside forward position, which means he sometimes is that kind of final man on the ball. And we saw, for example, in that kind of Portugal game, that early on Jota had a fantastic opportunity to kind of go one-on-one with the keeper. And these are opportunities that I think Insigne can do very well with, given that he's very pacey and also has a very strong touch, when he's one-on-one with the keeper. And I think simply that's something that Belgium will have to kind of keep their eyes on and kind of adjust strategically as well, since Munier is someone who bombs very far forward.
You're absolutely right, and that's something Belgium will definitely have to be careful with. But I mean, for them, their secret weapon, I mean, not so secret, is the KDB aspect of this game. If he is available, he will be the one that is basically going to marshal that midfield and that attack for Belgium. As we've seen here, how he's able to, utilize the space on the flanks. Belgium does love to play quite wide, have both sides covered so that they can switch play through either the midfielders or KDB himself, as in the situation where Doku is able to run through and behind, because Torgan makes that run inside, sort of confusing your fullback, making him wonder, does he follow that man or does he follow the man out wide? These are kind of little, sort of runs that can confuse a fullback or the defensive line. At the same time, it's his passing ability, right? Like he's able to switch the ball on either side and at the same time look for these killer passes, as he kept doing against Finland that game, finding Lukaku through Lukaku's x-up hold up play. And just if it's on the ground, Lukaku can use his strength to turn into that shot, as he scores here for Belgium, or as the chance that maybe another moment where he's able to use his aerial ability. And I think if Chiellini is missing, as you mentioned, Cherby, an excellent player, but I do think that Lukaku, who's been excellent in the Serie A this season, has already the experience of playing against these defenders and will be looking and relishing the opportunity to play against these defenders.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, I think when we talk about, let's say, someone like Chiesa, I think he brings a lot to the table in terms of actually being able to drag the ball down the line and actually challenge his defenders. And his pace, I think, is something that he adds a lot more to the table in terms of what can challenge this Belgian defense. Because as we said, the center backs aren't exactly the fastest players in the world. And very much like Germany, we've seen them kind of be exploited when someone kind of drags them down to the byline and then kind of cuts back across their defense. And I think there's an opportunity for that as well with how Kesa plays. He likes to play with the shoulder off a defender and kind of make that run behind. And sometimes if you allow a team like Belgium to creep a little bit forward, there naturally is going to be that kind of high line for Kesa to exploit. On top of that, I think Italy have shown a lot of depth in terms of their ability to create chances outside the box. You can put that down to, first of all, the class of someone like Immobile. We've seen fantastic long range efforts from him, one of them being a goal and another being a crossbar shot that was actually one of the reasons that kind of took Italy to extra time versus Austria, because he just didn't get that through. And then we have the kind of opportunity, I think, as we've seen, for example, here in this chance, where Guerrero was able to kind of make this kind of late run in behind the Belgian defense and go for like a second chance rebound. And I think there's the potential for that because Italy do like to play sometimes with Barella having a little bit more license, I would say, to roam into these kind of spaces for the Italian team to kind of plug offensive gaps. And I think, you could see long range efforts from Italy really do work out versus this Belgium side.
Well, I mean, there you have it. This is going to be an excellent matchup between two teams that are looking to get their hands on the silverware. They've been voted as, one of the most stronger sides, and they could come up against another team that has looked really solid in Spain. So there's going to be a lot of eyes on this. Fran, just before we end this, what are you thinking? What are your expectations for this game, and who do you think could possibly progress?
Yeah, I think it comes down to whether Kevin De Bruyne plays. I think This Belgium side can still provide a lot, even without Hazard, even though I think he had a great game versus Portugal. I think ultimately Kevin De Bruyne is someone who can manipulate uh, that kind of defense very well. And he's the one who's going to be able to unlock someone like Lukaku. And I think for that reason, if Kevin De Bruyne plays, I kind of see it as a 1-0 win for Belgium. What about you, Mehdi?
For me, I think also I have to agree with you. Kevin De Bruyne is going to be critical if Belgium are going to have any chance of going ahead. I know they have a lot of talent, but it's the way he sort of links that midfield with attack that is very missing in this side. And I don't think there are many other players in the squad that can fulfill that role. So KDB's presence will be necessary. I think that game could go a 1-0 or 2-1 because I do feel they are a little vulnerable at the back. And if at least sort of click like they did in the group stages, it could be a long night. But I think one with a lot of chances on both sides. So it's going to be a fun watch for all the fans out there. So guys, we hope you like this video, and if there's something that you think that you would like us to look at or a tactic that we missed, do let us know in the comments below, and please leave a like.